The morning after my divorce was finalized, I sat on the edge of my mattress, the only piece of furniture left in my apartment, staring at the empty space where my life used to be. David didn't just take the house. He didn't just take the car. He didn't just take the savings. He took everything he could legally grab before walking out of court with a smile big enough to make the judge uncomfortable. "You'll be fine," he said, shrugging as if he'd forgotten I spent 10 years supporting him while he built his company. "Women start over all the time. Good luck, Laura." Then he winked. A wink, like he'd just won a prize instead of ripping apart a marriage. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even argue, because I had $42 in my wallet, 2 boxes of clothes, and a mattress on the floor. I didn't have the luxury to fall apart. I needed to survive. So that morning, with my hair tied back and my hands shaking, I walked into the Citibank to close the last remaining account in my name, an old checking account I barely used. The sunlight through the tall windows made everything inside look hopeful, but I felt like I was carrying a storm cloud above my head. The bank manager, a man in his 50s with silver glasses and kind eyes, greeted me. "How can I help you today?" I took a breath. "I need to close my account," I whispered. He nodded politely and typed my name. Then his fingers froze. His eyes narrowed. He leaned toward the screen. "Ma'am, could you repeat your full name for me?" I did. He typed again, slower this time. Then he looked up at me, not kindly this time, but cautiously, almost respectfully. "Would you mind stepping into my office?" My heart jumped. "Is something wrong?" He didn't answer, just gestured toward the private room with glass walls. I followed him, feeling a cold wave rush down my spine. He closed the door, sat down across from me, folded his hands, and studied me. "Laura, were you aware that you have more than one account with us?" My stomach tightened. "No," I said. "I only opened one." He turned the monitor toward me. "That's not entirely accurate." There were 2 accounts listed under my full legal name. The first one, my small checking account, balance $42.17. The second one, a savings account, balance $487,460.92. $500,000. I felt the room tilt. "That's impossible," I whispered. That isn't mine." The manager leaned back slowly. "Your ex-husband requested access to this account last month." My breath caught. "He said it belonged to both of you," the manager continued gently. "But according to our system, this account was opened under your name only 8 years ago." 8 years ago. I blinked. 8 years ago. That was the year David convinced me to quit my job and support his dream. The year I started working unpaid hours for his business. The year he promised, "Once we're successful, everything we have will be ours." But this account, I had no memory of creating it. None. My pulse climbed, and the manager noticed. "Laura," he said softly, "I need to ask, do you know someone named Evelyn Foster?" My breath stopped. "Yes," I whispered. She was my mother." He nodded slowly. "Then this will make sense." He clicked a file on the screen. The original deposit. The name on the paperwork. The signature. My mother's. The date was 1 month before she died. A tear slid down my cheek before I could stop it. "My mother left me this," I whispered. "I didn't know. She never told me." "Why didn't?" The manager shook his head. "It appears she set this account up privately, and she listed you as the sole beneficiary. Your husband was never authorized." Another tear fell. "David never told me. He knew. He had tried to take it. He spent months draining every shared asset, preparing to leave me broke, but he couldn't touch this. Not this. Because my mother, a woman David always dismissed as overly sentimental, had protected me in the one way I never expected." The manager continued. "There's more." He handed me a printed letter from the account file. My mother's handwriting. I recognized it instantly. "Laura, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I know you love with your whole heart, but I also know how easily people take advantage of that heart. This money is for you, your future, your freedom. Never let anyone convince you that you deserve less than everything." I covered my mouth with my hand as silent sobs rose from my chest. The manager gave me time to breathe. Then he asked quietly, What would you like to do with the account? Laura, for the first time in months, I felt something warm spread through my chest. Strength. I wiped my tears. I want to move it, I said hoarsely. Into a trust. In my name alone. He smiled gently. We can do that. He paused, then added, and there's something else I think you should see. He clicked another document. A flagged attempt. David had tried to transfer the entire amount 3 times. Once the week of our separation. Once the night before the divorce hearing. And once the morning after the judge finalized everything. Each attempt declined. Each attempt recorded. My fists tightened. He knew I had this money all along. He wasn't leaving me with nothing because he wanted freedom. He was leaving me with nothing because he thought he had already stolen everything. He thought I would walk away broken, desperate, begging. He thought he'd finally won. But he didn't know my mother had left me the one thing that would destroy him. Proof. Do you want these attempts documented officially? The manager asked. I nodded. Yes, absolutely. He printed everything. The transfers, the declined notices, the notes, and as I held those papers in my hand, a calm, dangerous clarity settled into my bones. David didn't just underestimate me. He underestimated the woman who raised me. And now, he was about to see what it felt like to lose everything. Before we proceed with the trust, the manager said, there's one more thing. I looked up. There's a second document from your mother. Sealed. It requires your signature to open. My heart thudded. He slid a small envelope across the desk. My mother's handwriting again. And 3 words written on the front. When you're ready. I reached for it, my hand trembling, and the manager whispered, take your time. Your mother meant for you to find this exactly today. I held the envelope against my chest, tears forming again. Because today, the day David thought he had destroyed me, was the day my mother gave me my life back. I sat in the bank manager's office holding the envelope my mother left behind, my fingers trembling around the thin paper. The words on the front, when you're ready, stared back at me like she had written them yesterday. The manager waited quietly, giving me space. You can open it whenever you feel comfortable, he said gently. I inhaled slowly, letting the moment settle in my bones. Then I slid my thumb under the seal. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded with the delicate precision my mother always used. I unfolded it. Her handwriting swept across the page in calm, steady lines. My sweet Laura, if life ever takes more from you than you can bear, I want you to remember this. You are not fragile. You are not helpless. And you are not alone. When I realized I wouldn't have as much time with you as I wanted, I worked quietly to make sure your future would be yours, not something anyone could take from you. People who love power will always try to control those with softer hearts. If you married someone who dimmed your light, please forgive yourself for loving him anyway. Love is never a mistake, but staying in the wrong hands is. If the day ever comes when you open this letter, start over, begin again. Build something that belongs only to you. And remember, I trusted you with everything I had. Now trust yourself. Love, Mom. Tears blurred the ink as I pressed the letter to my chest. The manager cleared his throat softly. Your mother sounds like an incredible woman. She was, I whispered. She really was. He nodded. Now, he said gently, let's make sure her gift stays protected, permanently. He turned back to the computer. I recommend transferring the entire amount into a private trust. Your ex-husband will never be able to access or even view it. The thought steadied me. For the first time since the divorce, I felt my spine straighten. Yes, I said. Let's do that. He smiled, relieved. I'll get the paperwork. As he typed, I saw a shadow move near the office window. A familiar height, a familiar posture. My breath froze. David. He stood outside the glass, scanning the desks, his eyes sharp, frantic, like a man hunting for prey. The manager noticed my sudden stiffness. Is that your ex-husband? He asked quietly. I nodded once. David's head jerked toward our office. His eyes widened when he saw me. He walked fast, too fast, straight toward the door. The manager stood immediately. I'll handle this, he said firmly. But David didn't wait. He pushed the door open without knocking. Laura. His voice sounded tight, almost breathless. What are you doing here? I said nothing. He looked at the manager. What is she doing? What are you showing her? The manager's jaw tightened. Sir, this is a private meeting. You need to step outside. David laughed under his breath, brittle, strained. No, actually I don't. I'm still listed on her accounts. I know what's here. I know what's mine. His eyes darted toward the computer screen. The manager blocked his view. Sir, he said sharply, you are not listed on this account. David froze. One moment, he said, voice shaking with forced politeness. Maybe there's been a mistake. You see, Laura and I— No, the manager interrupted. No mistake. You are not authorized on this account at all. David blinked rapidly. You're wrong. He pointed at me without looking. She doesn't have anything without me. His voice grew louder. I checked everything. I went through every file, every record. I made sure we had no assets in her name. She had nothing. The room went cold. The manager crossed his arms. Sir, please lower your voice. But David stepped closer, eyes narrowing at me. What did you do? He demanded. What are you trying to pull here? What is this account? I met his stare calmly, something I hadn't done in years. It's mine, I said, my voice steady. My mother left it to me. David blinked, once, twice, then swallowed. Your mother? He laughed, but it cracked in the middle. She had nothing. She was drowning in medical bills. She didn't leave you anything. The manager cleared his throat. Actually, sir, she left her daughter nearly $500,000. David's face drained of all color. No, he whispered. No, that's not possible. I lowered my voice. You tried to access it 3 times. His head snapped toward me. I thought it was a forgotten account, he stammered. Something we missed in the paperwork, something we both owned. No, the manager corrected coldly. Something she owned. David's breath quickened. Show me the documents, he insisted. I have a right to. You have no rights here, the manager said sharply, and you need to leave before we call security. David looked at me again, eyes wild now. Laura, think about what you're doing. We shared 10 years together. I supported you. I let out a small laugh. You supported me? He froze. You drained our accounts. You hid money. You used my labor for your business without paying me. You left me with nothing on purpose. He flinched. That's not how it happened, he whispered. The manager stepped between us. Sir, leave, now. David looked between us, desperation spreading across his face like a stain. Is this why you didn't fight in court? He said softly. Because you knew you had this? Because you wanted me to look like the villain? You were the villain, I thought. But I didn't say it. I didn't need to. He saw it in my eyes. David backed away slowly, jaw tightening, hands shaking. This isn't over, he murmured. The manager pressed a button under his desk. Security. It is, he said. For you. 2 guards approached the office. David stiffened, then turned on his heel and walked out of the bank without another word. The moment the door closed behind him, my shoulders dropped, tension melting like ice. The manager waited until he disappeared down the street before sitting back at his desk. Let's finish your trust, he said gently, and for the first time in a very long time, I smiled. Not from joy, not from revenge, from freedom. The paperwork took 20 minutes. When it was done, the manager slid the folder toward me. All right, Laura, it's official. Your inheritance is fully protected, and no one, not even the court, can touch it. I ran my fingers over the thick paper. Thank you, I whispered. He stood and nodded respectfully. Your mother did this for you. I'm just helping you carry it forward. As I walked out of the bank, the sun hit my face. Warm, gentle, new. And for the first time after the divorce, I felt ready for the next chapter. But a part of me knew David wouldn't let go that easily. And I was right. Because that night, he showed up at my apartment door, and he wasn't alone. That night, I was sitting on the floor of my nearly empty apartment, my mother's letter resting on my lap and the trust documents beside me. For a moment, it felt like life was beginning again, fragile, but mine. Then someone pounded on my door. Not knocked. Pounded. I froze. Another hit rattled the frame. Laura, open the door. David. I pulled my knees in and stayed silent. He hit it again. Open it. Now. I swallowed hard and walked slowly toward the door, keeping the chain locked as I cracked it open an inch. "What do you want, David?" His eyes were wild, bloodshot and furious. But he wasn't alone. Behind him stood a woman, tall, sharp-eyed, wearing a fitted blazer and carrying a briefcase. At first, I didn't recognize her. Then my stomach dropped. David's sister, Vanessa. He'd always called her the smarter Lawson, the one who ran the family business, the one who never liked me, the one who handled money like a weapon. She gave me a tight, cold smile. "Laura," she said smoothly, "we need to talk." I shut the door an inch more. "I don't think we do." David shoved his hand against the doorframe. "You owe us answers." A humorless laugh slipped out of me. "Oh, you, David? You left me with nothing. You emptied our accounts. That's not what this is about." Vanessa cut in sharply. David stepped back, letting her stand front and center. She had always loved being the authority in any room. "Laura," she said, "I know about the account." My pulse spiked. David glared at me. "You hid $500,000 while pretending to be broke?" I stared at him, stunned. "You emptied everything we had. You left me with $42, and you're angry that my mother's money wasn't yours to steal?" Vanessa's lips tightened. "This is not about emotions. This is about assets." "It's not yours," I said. "Actually," she replied calmly, "David and I spoke to a lawyer today, and he believes we have grounds to claim that account as marital property." A cold wave rushed through me. "You're lying," I whispered. She shrugged lightly. "You can believe what you want. But if you think you can walk away with that much money after contributing nothing to the marriage, nothing." My voice cracked as heat rose in my face. "I gave up my job. I ran David's company. I worked for free for years." David scoffed. "You handled emails and printed shipping labels, Laura." I stared at him, speechless. That was how he saw me? After everything? Vanessa crossed her arms. "That account gives you a motive to misrepresent the divorce settlement, and the court may consider revisiting the terms." Her tone was clean, rehearsed, cold. My chest tightened. "You can't take money my mother left me." A small smile curved on Vanessa's lips. "That depends on how the judge interprets the timing of the transfer." I felt my stomach drop. I needed to stay calm. I needed to think clearly. "The account is in a trust," I said. "It's protected." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "So it's true." David slammed his hand against the wall. "You put it in a trust?" "I had to protect myself," I whispered. "You protected yourself," he spit back, "to screw me over." "You screwed yourself," I said, meeting his eyes for the first time, "and you know it." For a moment, he didn't speak. Then he leaned forward just enough for me to smell the alcohol on his breath. "You think you're safe, Laura? You think I'm going to let you do this to me?" Vanessa put a hand on his shoulder, pushing him back slightly. "Enough, David." She looked at me again. "We're giving you a chance to settle this quietly." "A chance?" I repeated. "Or a threat?" Vanessa didn't blink. "Sign over 40% of the trust," she said calmly, "and we'll walk away. No court, no lawyers, no mess." It took me a moment to process the audacity of it. "You want almost $200,000? She smiled. "Now you're doing the math." I stared at her, at both of them. Then I shut the door a little more. "No." David lunged. "You don't get to say no." My heart slammed against my ribs. Vanessa caught his arm before he pushed through the door. "David," she hissed, "control yourself." Then she turned back to me. "You have 48 hours, Laura. After that, we file a claim. You'll lose more than money." I didn't answer. I just pushed the door closed and locked every bolt. David slammed his palms against it again. "This isn't over." But his voice was already losing power, because he knew something now. I wasn't scared of him anymore, not even a little. Their footsteps echoed down the hallway, sharp and quick, fading until the building went quiet again. I slid down the door to the floor, my breath shaking. 48 hours. They thought they could intimidate me, manipulate me, corner me, but they didn't know something crucial. The trust wasn't just protected, it was untouchable. Because the bank manager called me earlier that evening, before they arrived. He had reviewed everything again. My mother didn't just leave me money, she left instructions. Legal ones, bulletproof ones. Instructions that tied the funds to my name only with restrictions written so tightly that even the IRS couldn't break through. There was nothing David or his sister could do. I wiped my eyes and stood. Then picked up my mother's letter from the floor. "Love is never a mistake," she wrote. "Staying in the wrong hands is—" I pressed the paper to my heart. "Not anymore," I whispered. My phone buzzed suddenly. "Unknown number." I hesitated, then answered. A male voice spoke. Calm, professional, serious. "Miss Bennett? This is Detective Harlow. I need to ask you a few questions regarding your ex-husband." My chest tightened. "What? What about him?" There was a pause. Then, "A complaint was filed today about potential financial misconduct in his company, and your name appears in the records. We believe you may have information." I froze. David didn't know it yet, but the world he built on lies was beginning to crumble. And tomorrow morning, I would walk into that police station with everything I had, every document, every attempt he made, every proof. Because David didn't just leave me with nothing. He awakened a woman with nothing left to lose. The next morning, I arrived at the police station gripping a folder full of documents, the forged transfer attempts, the trust papers, my mother's letter sealed in a protective sleeve. Detective Harlow met me in the lobby. Tall, calm, mid-40s, with the quiet kind of authority that didn't need a badge to be respected. He shook my hand firmly. "Miss Bennett? Thank you for coming." I nodded. "Is this about David?" His eyes sharpened. "Let's talk in my office." He led me down a hallway lined with framed commendations and opened the door to a small, organized room. I sat in the chair across from him while he placed a recorder on the desk. "For documentation purposes," he said. I nodded again. "Before we begin," he added, "I want you to understand, you didn't do anything wrong. You're a potential victim in an ongoing investigation." The word victim sent a strange chill through me, because for months, that's exactly how David had made me feel. But now it sounded different, factual, protective, almost empowering. "Tell me what this is about," I said softly. He opened a file. "Yesterday, someone from your ex-husband's company filed a whistleblower complaint. They reported suspicious financial activity, money missing, funds redirected to personal accounts, false invoices. Your name appeared in the records, listed as the financial officer." I stiffened. "I wasn't a financial officer. I wasn't anything. I just helped with emails." Harlow nodded. "That's why we need to clarify. Your name was used on documents submitted to contractors and vendors, some of them fraudulent." My stomach twisted. "David used my identity?" "It appears so," the detective said. "That could put you at risk of liability unless we prove you weren't involved." "I wasn't," I whispered. "I had no idea." "I believe you," he said. "Now tell me everything you know about his business and finances." I took a breath. Then I opened the folder and laid out the documents the bank manager had printed for me, every attempted access David made to the hidden account. Harlow leaned forward, eyebrows knitting. "He tried to transfer the entire balance 3 times?" "Yes." "After leaving you with nothing?" "Yes." He picked up one paper and turned it toward the light. "These are bold attempts." "He didn't think I knew about the account," I said. "He thought I'd walk away broke." The detective sighed. "That checks out. Men who hide assets often assume their spouses won't find the trail." He flipped another sheet. "I see 3 declined attempts. Why was he denied access?" "Because it wasn't our account," I said. "My mother left it to me." Harlow looked up, something softening in his eyes. "She protected you." I nodded. He continued reading. "Miss Bennett, this is important." He tapped the papers. "These attempted transfers happened before the divorce ruling. If he had succeeded, it would qualify as marital theft." I blinked, absorbing the weight of his words. Marital theft. David hadn't just tried to take money. He had committed a crime. Harlow pulled out a legal pad. "I'm going to need you to walk me through everything from the beginning." And so I did. The unpaid labor. The financial manipulation. The emptying of every shared account. The moment in the bank when everything shifted. He listened silently, occasionally jotting notes, occasionally tightening his jaw in disapproval. When I finished, a quiet settled over the room. "You realize what this means, right?" he said finally. "I'm not sure," I whispered. Harlow leaned back. David's company is already under investigation. If we can prove he used your identity, erased marital assets, and attempted to access your protected inheritance. He paused. He could face multiple felony charges. My heart thudded. And Vanessa? I asked carefully. Harlow raised an eyebrow. What about her? She came to my apartment last night with David. She threatened me, told me to hand over 40% of the trust or they'd make it a legal issue. His expression hardened. Did she use those exact words? Yes, I said. And she admitted she knew about the account. The detective scribbled a note. That's extortion. The room tilted for a second. Extortion? Yes, he said. They tried to intimidate you into giving up protected funds. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a form. Miss Bennett, if you are willing to sign a statement, we can add your testimony to the existing investigation. It strengthens the case significantly. My fingers trembled as I picked up the pen. Then I remembered, love is never a mistake. But staying in the wrong hands is. I signed. Harlow nodded. Good. Now one last thing. He opened a sealed evidence bag. Inside was something I didn't expect. A USB drive. This was submitted by the whistleblower, he said. A copy of internal emails and financial documents. You may want to see this. He plugged the drive into his computer and opened a folder marked Lawson Financial Internal. My blood ran cold. Line after line of transactions. Payments to false vendors. Cash outs listed under my name. Invoices forged using my email address. Money transferred to David and Vanessa. But one file stood out. Voice memo. Lawson. Internal. MP3. Harlow clicked it. David's voice filled the room. It doesn't matter if she finds out. She doesn't have enough money to fight me. A drawer slammed in the background. Once the divorce is finalized, she'll be desperate. Then she'll sign whatever I put in front of her. Another voice entered. Vanessa. What about the hidden account? I'm working on it, David replied. When she closes the checking account, the manager will see her name on the other one. I'll tell him it belongs to both of us. Good, Vanessa said. You better secure it. If not, you're the one who'll look stupid. Silence. Then David again, quieter. She's too naive to protect herself. The audio ended. I felt something inside me crack. Not from hurt this time. From clarity. From strength. Detective Harlow clicked the recorder off. We will file charges, he said simply. You will be protected. I nodded, breath shaking. He closed the folder and looked at me with quiet respect. You're stronger than you realize, he said. Women in your position often crumble. You didn't. I swallowed the rising tears. Thank you. When I walked out of the station, the world looked different, brighter, sharper, mine. But the day wasn't over. As I reached my apartment building, someone stepped out from behind a pillar. Vanessa, alone this time. And she didn't look calm anymore. She looked terrified. Laura, she whispered. Please, you need to help me. I stiffened. What are you talking about? Her voice broke. David disappeared. Vanessa stood at the entrance of my apartment building, her blazer wrinkled, hair frizzy from the wind, and makeup smeared like she'd been crying for hours. It was the first time I'd ever seen her look human. When she whispered, David disappeared. Her voice cracked so softly it almost didn't sound like her. I didn't move. I didn't comfort her. I simply said, Why are you telling me? She stepped closer, gripping her briefcase like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Because he took something from me too. I raised an eyebrow. Took what? Another $500,000 you thought you were entitled to? She flinched like I'd slapped her. No, my reputation, my career, my future. I folded my arms. And I'm supposed to care? She stumbled forward a step, desperate. Laura, please, you don't understand. He didn't just use you, he used all of us. I stayed silent. That was enough encouragement. She sank onto the concrete step, hugging her knees, her voice shaking. Last night, after we left your apartment, David was furious. I've never seen him like that. He kept pacing, yelling that you outplayed him, that you were smarter than you looked. My jaw tightened. She continued. He drank half a bottle of whiskey and started ripping through his business files. That's when I noticed something that I'd missed before. She opened her briefcase with hands that trembled, pulled out a thick packet of papers. She pressed them into my hand. "What is this?" I asked. "Proof," she whispered. I skimmed the first page, then my breath caught. It was a list of withdrawals. Not from the business, not from my inheritance, but from Vanessa's personal accounts. Tens of thousands, hundreds, even a $67,000 transfer she clearly hadn't known about. "David told me he needed temporary liquidity," Vanessa said, voice hollow, "that he would pay me back after the divorce, but these," she pointed to the documents, "these were transferred into his private crypto wallet." I stared at her. "You knew he was capable of stealing from me, but you didn't believe he'd steal from you?" She laughed, broken. "No, I thought I was special. I thought I was the only one he didn't lie to." Her voice cracked again. "I defended him. I threatened you. I mocked you. And all while he was stealing everything I had." My chest tightened, not with sympathy, but realization. David didn't see people. He saw opportunities, assets, targets. "And now?" I asked quietly. "He's gone," she whispered. "Took his laptop, his passport, his watch collection. He drained the last business account at 4 a.m. She looked up at me, tears streaking down her cheeks. "I don't know where he went, Laura. But I know why." I didn't speak. She reached into her bag again, pulled out a small flash drive. "I found this taped under his desk drawer." She placed it in my hand. "When I plugged it into my laptop, I realized why he ran." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "He wasn't just stealing from us. He was stealing from the government." My heart lurched. "What?" She nodded rapidly. "Payroll taxes, federal grant money, subsidies. He claimed employees that didn't exist, pocketed government refunds, forged signatures of contractors." Her hands shook harder. "He committed federal crimes, not small ones, the kind they put people away for decades." Suddenly everything clicked. David hadn't run because of me. He hadn't run because of the trust. He hadn't run because Detective Harlow was investigating. He ran because he knew things were about to fall apart on a national scale, and he didn't plan to answer for any of it. I swallowed. "Why bring this to me?" She looked up, defeated. "Because you're the only one who ever told the truth, and the detectives need someone who wasn't part of the business to give context to all this." I held the flash drive, feeling its weight like a small piece of metal justice. "What do you want from me, Vanessa?" She hesitated. Then she whispered the last thing I ever expected to hear from her. "I want your help to put him in prison." The air went still, completely still. Vanessa Lawson, the woman who once called me the unnecessary wife, who laughed when David drained our savings, who stood at my apartment door demanding $200,000, was asking me for help. I didn't answer right away. I walked to the side of the building, inhaled the cold air, and let the truth settle. David never loved me. David never respected Vanessa. David never cared about anyone's future but his own. He didn't betray one of us. He betrayed everyone. So I looked at her, calm and unmoving. "Fine," I said. "I'll help." Her shoulders slumped with relief. "But not for you," I continued. She blinked. "For me, for what he took, for what he tried to take, for what he thought he deserved." Her expression hardened, not at me, but at him. "That's enough," she whispered. "As long as he goes down." I held up the flash drive. "We take this to Detective Harlow. Today." She nodded. We walked together down the street. A strange alliance, built not on trust, but on a shared enemy. By the time we reached the precinct, Vanessa looked like she had aged 10 years. Detective Harlow saw us immediately. "Miss Bennett," he greeted. Then, his eyes shifted to Vanessa. "And Miss Lawson?" Vanessa swallowed. "I have evidence, a lot." He motioned us inside. And for the next hour, Vanessa spilled every detail. The forged signatures, the offshore accounts, the hidden crypto wallets, the missing grant money, the fraudulent employees, the money siphoned from both family and business. Harlow typed rapidly. Finally, he asked the question hanging in the air. "Where do you think David is now?" Vanessa glanced at me. Then she whispered, "He always talked about Belize." Harlow nodded slowly. "I'll alert the federal authorities." She exhaled shakily, then stood. Before leaving, she turned to me. "You were right about him," she said softly. "I just wish I'd seen it sooner." I didn't respond. Some truths didn't need words. After she left, Harlow closed the file. "Laura," he said, "you may have saved dozens of people from becoming victims." A strange warmth spread through my chest, pride mixed with quiet strength. "Now what?" I asked. "Now," he said, "we build a case. And when David resurfaces, and he will, he'll have nowhere left to run." I stepped outside the precinct, feeling lighter than I had in years. My mother's letter in my bag. The trust protected. David exposed. Vanessa humbled. Justice moving. I walked home with a steady heart, because for the first time since the divorce, I wasn't the woman left with nothing. I was the woman who saw everything clearly. And tomorrow, the final piece would fall into place. When David himself would call me, from a blocked number, begging. 2 days after Vanessa and I turned everything over to Detective Harlow, I woke to the vibration of my phone on the nightstand. Unknown number. My heart slowed. Not sped up. Slowed. Because I already knew. I answered. There was no greeting. No breath. Just silence on the line. Then finally, "Laura." "David." His voice was shaky, uneven, nothing like the arrogant man who once told me I'd be nothing without him. I sat up slowly. "Where are you?" I asked. A bitter laugh. "You'd like that, wouldn't you? To hand me over to the feds?" My jaw tightened. "That depends," I said calmly. "Are you planning to turn yourself in?" He inhaled sharply, like my composure hurt more than anything he'd done. "You ruined everything," he whispered. "You and Vanessa." I let out a quiet, humorless breath. "No, David. You ruined everything." Silence again. Then he said something that surprised me. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I stayed quiet. He filled the emptiness like he always did when he was nervous. "I thought I could fix it before anyone noticed. The taxes, the accounts, the payroll. I just needed time. And then you left, and everything fell apart." A small, controlled whisper slipped out of me. "I didn't leave, David. I was pushed out." He didn't deny it. Instead, he said, "You know I cared about you." I closed my eyes. He still didn't understand. Still didn't see. "Caring about someone," I said quietly, "doesn't look like draining their bank accounts and leaving them with nothing." "That money," he started. "Was my mother's," I cut in. "You tried to steal it." I heard something fall on his end. Maybe a cup. Maybe his courage. Then his voice lowered. "You weren't supposed to find out." That was the real truth. Not regret. Not apology. Just fear of being caught. My hands stopped shaking. All fear left my body, replaced with something steady and powerful. "Why did you call, David?" I asked. His breath hitched. "Because I don't have anyone else." I let the words hang in the air. He continued. "Vanessa froze the family accounts. The company board removed me. The police keep calling. The bank flagged all my cards. I can't use my passport. I didn't feel pity. Not anymore. I just felt finality." "What do you want?" I asked. Another long pause. Then, "Tell them I didn't use your name. Tell them I didn't know about the money. Tell them you forgive me." I almost laughed. Not cruelly. Not mockingly. But in disbelief. "Forgiveness?" I repeated. "You think forgiveness will erase crimes?" "I just need time," he said, voice rising. "If I can get out of the country." I cut him off sharply. "You're asking the wrong person." And finally, he broke. "Laura, please." His voice cracked, a sound I had never heard from him. It didn't move me. It didn't soften me. It freed me. "I won't lie for you," I said quietly. "And I won't cover for you. You made your choices. You're doing this to punish me," he said. "No," I whispered. "I'm doing this to rebuild me." He didn't speak. I waited. Then I ended it. "David, this is the last time we will ever talk." "Laura." I hung up. The sound of the disconnect was cleaner than any closure I'd ever imagined. I sat still for a moment, letting the weight lift off my shoulders, a weight I had carried for so many years I'd forgotten what it felt like to breathe without it. That afternoon, Detective Harlow called. "We traced the signal," he said. "Your ex-husband used a prepaid phone near a coastal bus terminal. He's trying to leave the state." I didn't ask where he was going. I didn't ask what would happen next. I simply said, "Do what you need to do." And Harlow did. Within 12 hours, federal agents intercepted David at a transport checkpoint. No dramatic chase. No last-minute escape. Just a man caught by the consequences of his own hands. He didn't call again. He couldn't. In the weeks that followed, I rebuilt my life one solid piece at a time. A new apartment. A job I actually liked. A savings account with my mother's trust carefully untouched. A heart that no longer expected pain whenever someone reached for it. Vanessa sent a short handwritten note months later. "You were right. I hope we both choose better next time." And I did choose better. Not another partner, but myself. My strength, my peace, my freedom. One evening, I drove to my mother's favorite hill outside the city, the one where she used to say the sunsets looked like hope. I unfolded her letter and read it again. "Begin again. Build something that belongs only to you." I smiled. "I am, Mom," I whispered into the wind. "And I will." The sun dipped low, turning the sky gold, and for the first time in years, I felt completely, beautifully, unquestionably whole. Did you like my story? Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. More life stories are waiting for you.